All California fairs were tasked with surviving without any funding from the state. We all are responsible to earn our own money. By doing so, it allows us to keep our doors open year-round by renting out our facilities for interim events. Since losing the 25,000 yearly allotment, Western Fairs Association and California Fairs Alliance have been working hard to help gain some of that funding back. In 2017, Governor Newsom signed AB 1499. This assembly bill was a funding mechanism for the network of California fairs to be able to receive 0.25% of all purchases made on the fairground. This cycle of funding, $18 million, was earned. The fairs were allocated based on their class size, a portion of that 18 million. The board of directors just recently voted to accept the AB 1499 funds, and California fairs are just now starting to receive those funds due to the current emergency situation. However, the money received by the fairs from AB 1499 will only last California fairs 1 to 3 months, and possibly the Kern County Fair for only a month. These funds are used to cover state employees' salaries, health and retirement benefits, utilities, work compensation insurance, liability insurance, and property insurance, as well as continued upkeep and maintenance of the facility. We must have the ability to continue to pay these salaries of our state employees in order to keep our doors open in the case of these emergencies throughout the year. The fair industry is trying to stay positive, but is currently not looking good. There's a lot of emergency situations in our state. In 2011, California fairs were the only state department who had their funding 100% eliminated. Because of this, fairs already had to adapt to working year-round with minimum staffing levels. A lot of people say the solution to this current situation is to start layoffs. But in order to be here to serve the community in emergency situations, there is no more people to lay off. It is easy for the government and people to forget about the fairs when it comes to funding because they think of us as the annual event that brings our community together. However, they need to remember that we are here year-round, helping our communities in times of emergency. The emergency services aside, in 2019, California ranked #1 in agricultural sales, and Kern County was the second top producing county in California. As a district agricultural association, we are here to promote agriculture and education, and during this time, we really need some help. Because of COVID-19, all interim events have been canceled. Therefore, we have no way to generate funds to continue to be self-sufficient. In turn, we are developing reserves, in turn, we are depleting our reserves that we have built since 2011. The network of California fairs is not looking for a handout to recover lost income. We need the funding to help us survive until the state opens back up and we are able to begin generating revenue. California fairs are so much more than a one-time 12-day annual event for our community. We help stimulate our local economies, educate our youth, and provide a safe haven in times of need. The network of California fairs, according to the 2015 report, indicates the spending impact in the state of California was $3.9 billion. The income impact of wages was $1.2 billion. Employment impact is 30,000 full-time jobs. Sales and use tax from fairground operations in the state of California were $66 million. Economic impact of the Kern County Fair, according to the 2014 report, indicates spending impact of $39,143,000. The income impact was $13,396,000 in full-time jobs. Employment impact, 454 jobs. Sales and use tax from fairground operations in Kern County were $544,000. It would be sad if we had to permanently close our doors on years of tradition and memories. Additional overview of impacts of the Kern County community with Kern County Fair. The Kern County Fair and Event Center is home for over 130 public and private events every year at our fairgrounds. We have 12 nonprofit food booths who participate each year during the annual fair. For many of these nonprofits, the fair is their main fundraiser throughout the year. These nonprofit vendors gross a total of $607,253 at the 2019 fair. We partner with local businesses who purchase tickets at a discount rate to reward their employees. The fair also brings people from outside of our community who come to the 12-day event and spend money at our local hotels, restaurants, and stores. Annually, the fair hires over 500 seasonal employees within our community, not including those who are hired on by food vendors and carnival companies. In 2018, the fairgrounds revenue on our budget was $7.796 million. In 2019, fairgrounds revenue was $8.367 million. That's an increase of $570,000 over the previous year. That is all due in part to the loyal support of our community and the people who value us the most. Is there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for your report. With all that Mike has shared, I need a motion for CEO to send letters on behalf of the Board of Directors stressing the need for our emergency funding to support. Can I get a motion?
Second it.
Okay, motion by Natisha, second by Torres.
Discussion?
I think that a letter on behalf of Mike speaks for all of us in terms of the need for emergency funding to support the fair network, as well as our local fair.
Yeah, I would like to see a copy of the letter, see what kind of stance we're going to be taking. What I don't know, just see how it's worded.
Agreed. Natisha,
Yes.
do you have any comments?
No, I agree. I'm echoing the remarks of Mike, and I agree. I would like to also see it if we could get an email copy of that on our stance. And
On our stance, and I'm sorry you cut out after that.
hello?
You cut out after you said on our stance.
Okay, I'm sorry. Something's wrong with my phone here. No, I agree with the letter with Mike, and I'm hoping that we'll get some type of response and move forward.
Okay. So, and before we actually take this to a vote, I just want to elaborate a little bit on what Mike is saying. So just so that we're all perfectly clear and realize the severity of this situation. So without them jumping in, without the state being able to assist us, as we stated in our previous board meeting, our funds are being depleted at a very rapid pace. And because of COVID, we're unable to continue to sustain ourselves. Thankfully, Mike had the skills and the foresight to secure us so that we can go this far. Our last day that we will be able to make payroll is June 1st. There are other fairs that started needing assistance in March with their payroll obligations. So we have enough to get us to June 1st. However, without the help of the state of California, the potential for us to close our doors is very real. And with closing our doors, we would therefore be forced to dissolve the fair. It's not a no fair for 2019. It's a no fair again, just so everybody's perfectly clear on this. And so it is critical that we reach out to, on behalf of the Fair Association. And it's not just our fair, it's all fairs that are being affected by this, not just us. Some will close sooner than others. And we are very much in dire straits right now without the ability to support ourselves and generate our own revenue. Mr. Torres, do you have a comment or a question?
I do. I think what you said is impactful and quite important. And I think that people have to sit back, take a breath, and understand the enormity of what you just said right now. We're not talking about closing and starting at a subsequent date. We're basically talking about closing forever, unless we can try to rectify some of the issues that we have right now. And in that vein, my understanding, as you mentioned, is that there are other fairs that are much more severely impacted than we are. And the question I have both to you and Mike is that, is there a fair right now in one of the 58 counties of California that is facing actual dissolution this month or perhaps even next month, so that people can understand that this is not just all talk, that this is actually a reality, that it is occurring?
Mike, do you want to answer to that?
Yes, David, there are several fairs that probably won't make it another 15 days. And I can't disclose those fairs at this time, but they are probably going to look at dissolving their fairs. Some are big and some are very small.
Thank you, Mike. And just obviously for the record, one of the things that is very important is our fair, especially Blodgett, which is why you chose to serve or to submit an application to be appointed to this committee, is that it has, there are people like you who, as little children, enjoyed and worshiped the fair and enjoyed what you did by raising animals. And there's a lot of hundreds and perhaps even thousands of Blodgett Rodriguez's out there who have that
Wow, that's
commitment.
scary.
I know Lucas, I know that, well, Lucas as well. Lucas is one of them as well.
So is Jared.
Yeah, and Jared. And so I think it's important for people to realize that we will do everything within our power and in our ability and authority to try to keep this fair afloat. For folks like you who for the most part, this fair is a part of your family.
It's true.
That's
My
it,
dad
Rob.
showed, my cousin showed, I showed. My dad, you know, he'd be in his 80s right now. The impact that the ability to show livestock here at this fair, the impact that it has made on my life has been great. And I've been very open about that. I would hate that the other 100,000 little blodgies running around would not be able to enjoy that. And so you're right, David, we are doing everything in our power possible to continue and not have to do it. I just want the public to be very, very clear on the fact that the reality of it happening is very real and it's not exaggerated.
I think it's important, this is Ned, for those that are in the media that are participating in this Zoom conference to get a hold of those stats that Michael Olcott read out. I think they're impactful and they're important because a lot of people, including politicians, forget or never knew that the Kern County Fair is a state agency that gets no money. And we have state employees that we have to pay and that we have to cover their medical and their pensions, et cetera, which we should, but we've got no income because of COVID-19. So it would seem the most logical thing to do would be to take over the payroll of the fair during the pendency of the pandemic, where at least during the period of time that we cannot hold any events, that enables us to pay our people or pay the state's people, which we want to do, but we just don't have the money. In fact, we've blown through and will have blown through the entirety of our rainy day fund, which took us years to save up for needed repairs on the fairgrounds. Well, that's all gone now. And we generate millions of dollars for not only the state, but for Kern County and its share of the sales tax revenue and hotel tax and everything else, and the city of Bakersfield. And both those governmental entities, understandably, are also in dire straits. However, between the state, the county, and the city, I gotta believe there's enough money that can be scraped up to pay our staff until we can hold events again.
And Ned, I want to expand a little bit upon the status of our employees. In the business world, when you're experiencing a situation such as this, the easy or most common approach, not easy, the most common approach would be to do layoffs. Well, with our employees being state employees, we have to follow the guidelines by California HR. And that is, the layoff process is a 6 to 12 month process. It is not easy and it is not quick. So even if we were to vote for layoffs in our board meeting for the month of May, in our May board meeting, it would still be anywhere from November to next May before we were able to do layoffs. And our money runs out June 1st.
What about furloughs? I mean, has that been furloughing employees?
Well, that's essentially the same as a layoff. They're just not fired.
The is that technically, is there anything that can be done as a layoff? A layoff is going to extend it that much further. Can furloughs be done easier? Is that going to help anything?
Jared, I can answer that for you. I'm going to discuss that with HR. HR sent us some information today, and I will be calling them tomorrow morning and discussing that with them. The last furloughs that we had are when I first started in 2012, and they had 1 day a month that the governor had us furlough. I believe it has to come from the governor, but I will check that tomorrow with HR.
Well, Balaji, I know we have a motion on the floor, and I know we're kind of exploring different alternatives. This is T speaking here. I know that we received a substantial amount of monthly revenue from the swap meet.
Right.
I'm going to revisit that. I really seriously we are in a different situation now. And if we could possibly open up the swap meet for essential services only, essential goods only, is that a possibility? Something that we could possibly discuss?
I reached out to public health today with that exact question, especially with the fact that we have Home Depot open, Lowe's, Walmart, Target, curbside restaurants. And essentially all of the vendors, the majority of our vendors in our swap meet are the same type of, they sell the same goods that these stores that I mentioned do. And my approach was, if we implemented the CDC guidelines of social distancing, 6 feet between each vendor, and did as much as we could to adopt that and apply it to our swap meet and extend the space into Grand Avenue, right by where the rodeos take place. Unfortunately, we're not able to. They checked with the team and the answer was no.
Okay. Was there any particular explanation as to why we weren't able to do that?
No.
Okay. All right.
Did they give us any indication of when we would be able to?
No, they did not.
Give an estimate or like an idea?
Sure, I'll read you the response.
Did they discuss consequences for those that were continuing to move forward in that kind of capacity of reopening their essential services, I guess?
Well, as a state agency, we don't have that option.
Okay.
So the response to my email was, one moment. I checked with my team. Unfortunately, swap meets are not considered essential, so they are not allowed to open.
Okay, but what about concerts with 70s rock bands?
I think those are the exception. No, Ned.
And we did explain to them what we were going to limit in terms of reopening if we did the swap meet in terms of only essential items, and it was still a no.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks, Balaji.
Yeah, so I mean, I just want to go on record as saying that the state has basically put us in the situation of feeling like we cannot make payroll here in a month. It was not, if we could have the choice to open up, that would be some discussion that we can take here to host events, keep it going, or have kept it going. But the state came in and said no. They disrupted our business with. So usually, I would say I'm against government spending in large quantities, bailouts. But in this instance, the state caused our misfortune or our inability to generate revenue, and so because they caused it, I think that we do have a right to say you should compensate us for taking that right of us to make those decisions. Like we need to be compensated. I understand why you make them. I mean, you're protecting the public good, but at the same time, I just don't really. So I'm not a big fan of a centralized area in Sacramento telling regional areas how to operate. Just not a fan of it because it's different across the regions. Bakersfield may be different than other, the LA area or the Bay Area. We're just different, and we should be able to make those decisions.
Well, more importantly, this isn't a business that's saying, hey, you cut the legs out from under us and now we're not making profit. It's, hey, you cut the legs out from under us that allow us to pay your employees. We're not asking for handouts for profit or lost profits. It's just take over the responsibility of paying your own employees during this period of time that you've tied our hands behind our back saying we can't raise money. I got no problem with Governor Newsom doing this, shelter in place. He's getting advice from people who are far above my pay grade. And I have no trouble with it. I'm just saying with that, there should be a concomitant recognition that we have to make allowances for these state employees who, by us paying their payroll, pay their taxes, pay their property taxes, pay their county and city taxes, pay their water bills and trash pickup bills, buy food and spend the money locally. And now that's all been taken away. And we've got the three arms of the government, the city, the county, and the state, all like the three monkeys with their hands over their eyes, their mouth, and their ears.
Ned, the situation is almost comical. It's not only are we being mandated to close, you're right, we're also having to maintain our labor force without any flexibility as mandated by the state. And furthermore, we're not able to apply for any loans, any payroll protection programs with the federal government. We're not able to apply for those. We can't get access to bank money. All the banks that we've gone to, or even other line of credit, was shut down. Like, it's comical that our situation was mandated, but not only was it mandated, it ruined our income. And then the state said also, you can't lower your expenses. You cannot, because they're state employees. And at the same time, we're not able to actually go out and get any sort of grant that other businesses in the area are entitled to.
Well, this is exactly the situation that was written about many, many years ago. And my good friend David Torres, being as well read as he is, will probably recognize the title of the book. It's called Catch-22. And in that book is exactly what we're experiencing here. you got to pay our employees, but you can't earn any money to do it. But you have to do it, but you can't do anything to do it.
Yeah, I remember that this being a real theme when the cameras were all at our board meetings and everything. Like, let's really pay attention to the fair's income stream, and let's be enraged about how they're misusing our money and the taxpayers' money. And there was so much rage in the media come about a year ago today, maybe a little less. And now where's, we're in this situation. Where's that cyclical rage? Like, where is it? Like, no one is enraged and trying to help us in this situation.
I think part of that is because people just don't see it. They just, it's not registering with them that we're not just a state agency that has a state bankroll, that has a state accounts that we pay people with.
I think they too, like Ned mentioned, with respect to the media, they too had a misunderstanding of the financial nomenclature of this organization. Everybody had a different perspective of what it is, but now that it's come to fruition, I think they're going to have to sit back and grasp at what exactly it is before they can actually sit down and get upset and be just as upset as we are, Lucas. Hopefully, if they get a hold of the documents that Mike's got, they will realize the severity of the situation and where we are in this.
So, Mike, I'd like you to make copies of that so that if members of the press or any members of the public want to see those numbers, that they can get them.
I'll make those available then.
Thank
You
you.
know,
Mike.
as we get this letter out and we're going to vote to show support for it, I think it's also if we could do some type of call to action for the public to help and assistance to push this message to the right people. If we could get online digital action where we could share this through digital media and get enough people behind it, maybe we could get the right people involved to help us get through this difficult time.
Okay.
Also, if we could, on this letter that we're going to generate, if we could get all the fairs and maybe come together and form a coalition, put their names on it, maybe get one big master letter together to send to the governor or whoever needs to be.
It is the master letter. It's California Fairs Association that has drafted the letter. What we're to do is tweak it according to how it impacts our community, but it's something that's uniformly being done across the state of California.
I think that about 5 years ago, there was some animosity between the Fair Board and some folks in the livestock area. And these folks in the livestock area started a Facebook page, which generated hundreds of followers, and they were quite active on this. I think that now more than ever is a time that we have to hear from the livestock community to let the state know how we feel. I once saw a photograph of Assemblyman Rudy Salas wearing a FFA jacket. I bet he'd look really good wearing that FFA jacket before the assembly, so that they can understand the importance of what FFA is and the importance of livestock. And as mentioned by Cesar, letters from the livestock community would be quite beneficial and helpful in getting our word across.
Well, David, that's a perfect segue for me to ask Julie Beechner. She's reached out to me and she'd like to make a comment at this time.
Oh, great.
Thank you, President Rodriguez. I'm not sure if this is the right time to make a public comment because I'm not a Fair Board member, and I know you are in the middle of a motion that is on the floor. So if I am able to speak, just let me know. And if I'm not, then I'll close till you vote.
Yeah, you're good, Julie.
Okay. First of all, I'd just like to say, Lucas, you are certainly correct in that you have a lot of people who are fired up about this, and certainly on the Kern County Fair side and on your side. And, as a teacher, and also as a homegrown Kern County person who was raised in livestock and raised in the agriculture industry, I certainly understand that this is an absolute crisis. I get it that you are 100% operated by the state and you receive zero funding, and the impact of this is global. The idea that your fair, our fair, could be completely dissolved, turned back over to the county. The land mass, as I understand, is owned by the county. It would go back to the county and they could do with it what they seem necessary, whether it's housing, homeless shelters. It will never be the Kern County Fair again. And from someone raised in this industry, that is detrimental, and it's sad. And so I can tell you right now, from my side as an FFA teacher and as an ag industry person, we have your back, and we will write the letters, and we will knock on the doors of the assemblymen, and we will be on the legislator's floor, and we will make sure, because ultimately California Expositions has to answer, they're putting a package together, a $300 million package for us to salvage this. And if we ever want to see our students and our kids and our grandkids show, exhibit, be a part of, go to the carnival, whatever it is, we've all got to get on this. And I will say, I am a member of Advocates for Fair Reform. We pushed for that years ago when there was a large discrepancy happening, and we saw action, and we will move forward again. We will certainly do that. We will unleash the beast, I guess, as you will say. And we will pull for everything to happen and happen accordingly. The only other thing I would like to ask is there a possibility of reaching out to our local industries? Should this $300 million not come in, is there an opportunity to reach out to a nonprofit, to a large agricultural firm, to someone to save your payroll for June, for July?
We have
look at another.
we have our nonprofit, Julie, and we would be able to utilize that. We would have to form a memorandum of understanding and put Mike in charge of that. And yes, the potential is there with our nonprofit.
How much money would
Yeah.
we need to raise to cover June payroll?
Mike's looking at the numbers right
David,
now.
I was muted, sorry. We would have to have $200,000 for payroll alone.
For just June.
Yes,
When you
And
say
that-
alone,
Is that-
benefits?
Yeah, does that
that's
pay the
everything,
health?
benefits, health.
I'm
So-
sorry, you cut off. That includes health benefits?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Okay, well, I vote Julie Beechner for mayor. You gotta start small, Julie, then you can move up.
I'd also like to say, hey, Kern County is home to Kevin McCarthy. And if there's somebody that can back us, I know Mr. Lidget, I think you're pretty close with him. Mike Alcott, let's reach out. I think we have to do whatever we can. Kern County Superintendent of Schools, I don't know if there's an option there. There's certainly big options out there still with Grimway. I know the agriculture world is suffering as well. But I'm going to tell you, Kern County is the greatest community there is, and there will be someone that will step in and save us if this 300 million doesn't come through. But if the 130 people on here don't act and don't push for it, it will not happen.
Julie, I just wanted to remark that I have reached out to Kevin, and I've sent him information about 2 weeks ago, and evidently he's working on it. I haven't heard from Kevin personally, but I have sent things back to DC.
Awesome.
Hey, Mike,
Yes,
can I, or Blodgett, my apologies, Madam Chair. Julie is absolutely right. I mean, this community of ours is amazing. I'm not necessarily certain we've got something that's pending right now with a vote, but I received a message basically asking me, somebody on this meeting, saying that they would like to help out as well. I'm not sure what the parameters are with that, with private individuals helping out, but if people are listening and perhaps the media reaches out and there are those who wish to assist us in this endeavor to keep our fair alive, Mike or Blaji, is there a certain person that they should call or a number
Yes.
that we should call? Okay.
Yes, get a
Could
hold
we
of me.
publicize that? Okay.
Yeah, Mike.
Okay.
Mike, we have a nonprofit, right? How, if someone wanted to donate, I don't know, X amount of dollars to the nonprofit, can they write that off on their taxes?
Yes, they can. They just have to designate it at a certain purpose, and then they would turn it over to us.
Right now? No, I'll record you.
I can't hear.
What is a sufficient purpose? Is saving the Kern County Fair's payroll a sufficient title?
There was one where like the chop, like a motorcycle chopper, like it was really loud.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, Lucas, that would be sufficient as long as it's designated for payroll.
Yeah.
Or it could be just save Kern County Fair.
So if you could just briefly speak a little bit about the relationship between the fair and this nonprofit. Like where do they generate their money? What do they use it for? Like what is it comprised of? I'm not sure if many people are familiar with it.
So our nonprofit generates their funds through sales of beer on the fairgrounds during fair. And they do the scholarships for the kids. They are funding all of our livestock infrastructure, Casey's Farm. There's the ag component that we're trying to get started with teaching component this fall. They also do like equipment. They do just all kinds of projects that they're very instrumental in helping us raise money for these things. They also are a conduit for people who do want that tax write-off.
Yeah, I think we really need to get it out in the public just about this. Like if I'm not sure how much of the public know about this nonprofit. And I think with the situation that we're in, I think a lot of people were talking about our community and how well they're willing to give. That would be a good venue for that. I think not only the tax write-off, but the just the ability to get it to the fair and help with payroll. But I also want to take this moment to thank Julie for her comments. I think we all do need to reach out to our local politician, anyone. I mean, your city councilman, your supervisor, your assemblyman, your state senator, everyone. I mean, your Congress people. Let them know. I think those letters and those reaches out from people within their district really matter, especially if you have a relationship with them through other industries. So I really want to just stress that right now, that everyone who cares about the fair, and there's a lot of us, like we do this because we love it. We don't spend these hours going over all this agenda items and the financials for $0 a volunteer of our time because we don't. Because we hate it. We do it because we love it. And I think a lot of people that are on this call are in the same boat. We love the fair. We don't know. I personally, growing up, would have been lost. I mean, what would I do in the fall with all the time I spent raising steers and getting them ready? And I lived at that fair like all through high school. Now that I have like a 9-month-old,
we'll be riding bulls in a year.
Yeah, let's do this. And then like the hysterical just comedy of error situation that we find ourselves in, I'm just like, whoa, in 3 months time, those hopes and dreams, aspirations, thoughts are now just full of just calamity at the thought of the fair not being there, which is, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to happen. We're going to get back going. Even if the state does not help us, which I don't think will be the case, I think they will help us. Someone will help us. we could survive. Like we could start selling, ripping tin off the buildings and selling. I feel like we're going to go down kicking and screaming. We're not going to just fold. We're going to find debt. We had a strong balance sheet. We've had quite a few years of good earnings and profits that we have added to our balance sheet, and so we've been able to survive for these months with that. And so I know that we can access some capital somewhere in the form of debt. I mean, there's going to be some options, and then hopefully, I mean, it's a big gamble. I mean, I will debt this thing up to the roof if we need to keep it alive. It's a big gamble because if they cancel the fair, then that'll be tough to recover from without some sort of change. And if we do get there, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I'd be willing to just bet the farm and go hard to keep this thing alive.
Well, Lucas,
Points.
just expand a little. I'm sorry, Ned.
Yeah.
I wanted to expand just a little bit on Lucas's comment about if they cancel the fair, because that's also another layer that's still up in the air and a decision has not been made. But just so that we know, if the fair is canceled, we will need essentially, I believe it's $3 million to get us to January, correct?
Yes.
So there's, it takes quite a bit of money to keep us going and keeping us afloat. That's just to January. That's not including, all the way through, depending on whenever they lift the mass gathering.
Can I just make 2 points? One, this is Ned. If it's not already done by our wonderful IT people at the fair, that we should perhaps have on our website a call to arms, as it were, and a little history and some of those stats, Mike, and an exemplar letter that we would like people to send, and the people they need to send it to.
And we can do that. We can put some information up on the website. In fact, we're supposed to receive some information from WFA and CFA, I believe, tomorrow or the next day. And it's a campaign that we can send out. Also, I'd like to reiterate that this is just not California. This is also the whole country. IAFE, International Association of Fairs and Expositions, is trying to also get us funding on a federal level. Those fairs, there's over 2,000 fairs, I believe, in the country that are struggling right now. And they're just like us, ag associations, 4-H fairs, state fairs, and a lot of entertainment, a lot of festivals. And our association back in Missouri is working really hard to get Congress to vote some money for our industry as well.
Look at the bottom line is the Kern County Fair is more than corn dogs, 70s rock bands, and Tilt-A-Whirl. The still exhibits, more people see the artwork of our Kern County residents than would see it if it was at the Kern County Museum.
It's true.
Or the art museum. We get 415,000 people approximately coming in every year and looking at the art that our citizens produce, and the kids in schools, and their photography exhibits, and everything else that they do that's important, that gives texture to our society. And that is now in danger of going down the toilet because we're not loud enough and we're not presence of mind. We've got to be loud, and we're gonna have to rely on people like Julie Beechner to beat the drums and beat some heads. And people need to get their voices out there, and we need to help them.
You're absolutely right. And it's interesting that you would mention the art component. Ned, just last week, one of my friends asked me about some local artist that has an exhibit at the fair and they wanted some of their art. So It's true.
And I would also like to reiterate what Lucas has said about livestock and Blodgett. I didn't show livestock at this fair. I didn't show livestock at all. It's one of the most important parts of the fair to me. It touches on all of our agriculture. It touches on all of our youth, whether they're going into the accounting in livestock or they're going into the processing, whether they're going to be farm managers. It's an important component of our teaching. It's important for our community with agriculture and what we do here for the rest of the world. So for that to go away in that learning component would be very devastating to me.
Yes, I completely agree. And I too would like to thank Julie for everything that she's doing and being a great advocate for the kids in the community. For my family, myself, this is my daughter's first year being able to show pigs, and she's so excited. This is Elijah's fourth year showing pigs. We've already bought our pigs, and to not have that ability to give them that opportunity to learn about not only livestock but how agriculture is just devastating.
Thank you, David.
Call for the question, Madam Chair.
To authorize CEO Olcott to send letters on behalf of the Board of Directors stressing the need for an emergency fund to support Network California fairs, especially the Kern County Fair and Event Center. So I had a motion by Johnson and a second by Torres. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Right.
Okay. So moved. Our next,
Go ahead.
any director comments? I'll start with Mr. Torres.
No, I'm just, interestingly, I'm getting emails or messages on Facebook directly. This is another person, apart from the gentleman that texted me earlier about wanting to donate to the foundation. Another person is basically asking that and I know that this person is a council member of an outlying city, that asked that all Kern County City Council members send a letter to our legislatures or resolution seeking assistance to our fairs to keep them open. I mean, I'm really struck that this has gone so wide. We didn't anticipate this, but I'm really it's really emotional to see how much this means to people, politicians, and dairy ag folks from throughout the county. It's interesting, but I just thought I'd mention that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Any of our other board members, do you have any comments?
I'd like to say, sorry, Ned, go ahead.
Go ahead, Caesar.
You go first, Caesar.
No, I just think maybe a quick action, if we could get a post on our Facebook just saying, the fair is about to close, if we could get likes, support, shares on that, I think that could reach out really quickly. So if we could get on that immediately, I think that'd be good.
Absolutely.
To add on to Caesar's, can we put together a kind of how to and, all the different things that they can do? So like who to contact, this is the person, and just line it out for people to take some action on their part.
Absolutely.
I would,
Are we able? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I would
Madam
just
Clerk.
like to say that we should put on our webpage, if it's not already there, a link on to I'm assuming the Friends of the Fair have a website, but a link from our website to theirs, so that there is a way that people who feel compelled to take some action, that they've got an avenue to do it. And in terms of the comments, I didn't grow up with a fair. I'm a boy from Toronto, Canada, city of 3 million, and didn't know anything about agriculture till I came out here and got on the Fair Board. And it was a big eye-opening experience for me. The complexity of it, the logistics of it, but also the countless hours that the parents and the teachers and the FFA people and the 4-H people and the Grange and all those volunteers that spend hundreds of hours every year to make this thing happen. And it would just be a tragedy to see it slip into the gutter and out of everyone's memories simply because it wasn't important enough.
Could not agree with you more, Ned.
To
You good, legit?
to double back on Jared and Caesar, what I think may help maybe is since we're using social media is a powerful thing. And if people have, maybe we can advise people to put pictures of either themselves showing when they were small or their kids showing, their grandkids showing, different times they've had at the fair, and just give, because what I know of politicians is if they have a person, a picture, and a story to tell, they can run with it. So why not use social media to help us out and give them that ammo they need?
Good point.
Great idea. Thank you, Dave. Okay, with there being no further comments, our next scheduled board meeting is Monday, May 18th.
Wait.
Oh, Lukey, I'm sorry.
Hey, don't cut me out. Don't censor me, Balaji. I know I can get long-winded.
No, you can't, honey.
Yeah, I just wanted to take the opportunity to echo the comments just about how great the fair is to so many people. It's the largest exchange of culture of the year in our community. There's no other place that it shows more art. Think of when you go to the fair, how many different collections and quilts and jams and all the sorts of stuff that people, there's someone behind each one of those jars of jam that put their life and looks forward to the fair to cook their jam or their pie to submit to the fair to see how they do. There are thousands of those people in our community, and we, as 400,000 people that walk through the door, we enjoy that too because we intake it. We go and we see, your route. Everyone has their route that they go through the fair. Some people avoid the ride. Some people just go straight to the animals. We all have our route, and my route always includes all the quilt works and the plants and it's so cool. I think, and I just want to praise our staff for just being the people that help put that all together and making the fair as great as it is. I feel like we've had a really good, financially, we've had a really good past 3 years, and we were building and we were growing momentum. We were committed to keeping prices on tickets down. We were building on our success every year. And with those successes, we did some big capital improvements, and we were really excited on fire as a fair board. I think if I speak on our behalf, pre-COVID chaos. And so I think we can still get there. Yeah, this is a speed bump, but I think with the call to help, there's on that social media side, there's a lot that we can do, a lot to just access the capital of the community that wants to help, not because they feel entitled or misuse them. Right now, they wouldn't be wrong. Right now, we're paying a lot of employees and not doing a lot of work. Not to diminish our staff. They're great, and we pay them well because they're great. But they're great because when a fair is going on, there's a lot going on. When there's nothing going on at the fair, I just feel it's an underutilized component, and it's a shame because we should be able to be providing the swap meets, be providing the event center, be providing the quinceañera access, and all the stuff that we provide throughout the year during this period. And it almost hurts me as the chair of the finance committee to know that we only lasted 3 months. Like, what? I can just hear the media take this story right now. You know, fair embezzled, you know,
But then why are you giving them the narrative?
Well, all right, make this in sarcasm. You know, the fair is doing all this bad stuff, and now here they are, you know, asking for money, asking for help. And I would hate to see that, because I know it's not that way. I know it is not that way. And so I just want to offer a little bit of hope that we're going to make it through this. Like, we're going to figure out a way. We're going to find money underneath couches. The community's going to step up. Some big investor is going to go and just drop a big old dime. I know something's going to happen, and that we are going to be clear. Whether we have the fair or not, we will survive, because the community will not stand for us not having a cultural exchange like the fair. They just won't stand for it. Something else will take its place, and we'll be right there to help get it going. And so I'm excited. I think some good will come out of this chaos. I think maybe some changes will be implemented. Maybe the community will be more involved and more aware of how their fair operates. And I would really encourage us as a fair to be real transparent during this time, because I think the people need to know all this stuff.
Thank you, Lucas. And I'm sorry, I really was not intentionally trying to not allow you your time to speak. So, couple of things.
Yes, she was.
Lucas, when you said at this time being completely transparent, I just want to elaborate a little bit in that we've been completely transparent for a while, or since our board has been in place. That's been one thing that's been very much part of what we have put forth is complete transparency.
Well, I don't think the common populace with the media and their stories on our audit, I don't think they think that. I think our responses to those audits are, we can't say anything because we couldn't. We're
still can't, Lucas.
We were handcuffed to not be able to say anything, but the media took that and they said they're hiding secrets. And goodness gracious, I wish we could just speak about it and see how much silliness that they're all getting making a dust up about. But man, I wish we could be really transparent.
Rules on the audit still apply to all fairs.
Yes, T.
Oh no, I'm just listening. No, I just, you know what, I'm just going to jump on what everyone else is saying. But is there a way that we can start a GoFundMe account that's run through the nonprofit? Like, not just put an actual call of action to, is that something that we could possibly do? If people want to know how to donate, is there a donate button?
I think we're better off to do a button rather than GoFundMe, because GoFundMe doesn't need to make money on money that we need so desperately.
Gotcha. Okay. So do we have a donate link anywhere to where
all of this enrolled literally after 3 p.m. today? We were on a conference call at 2 after our last conference call on Monday with Sacramento. So everything is truly, we're coming forward as soon as things are developing to the best of our ability.
Yeah, I'm with Lucas on that. By any means necessary, let's fight. We're going to go out fight completely.
That's right.
Yeah, and I mean, I would just recommend that they just go and use as many options as they can. I mean, throw GoFundMe in there too. Sometimes it's easier for other people. Sometimes they already have an account set up. I know the little things that you wouldn't think about. People just, if you can use it, sure, fine. It doesn't hurt to have a few more options.
Okay, thanks, Luke. So I'd like to say a little bit more than what I've already been saying, in that although we are all those wonderful things that everybody's talked about as far as those 12 days, but we're also so much more. We provide a house for people such as the homeless community that is experiencing COVID right now, or this effects of COVID. We open up our doors to other communities when there are fires and flood, and the Budweiser horses come by when they're traveling across the United States, or if they need a place to stay. This is truly a community event. The mosque across the street for their prayer day, they've used our one of our buildings also. I mean, and it's not just livestock, and it's not just the entertainment during the 12 days. It is truly the community's fair. And and it, as far as the impact that the livestock has had in my life. Casaloma 4-H from the hood, and I wouldn't change it for anything. That it's one of the greatest experiences, like Lucas said, getting yelled at by my daddy because we weren't feeding him, walking, all of it. It's this whole event center has just supplied so many members of the lives here in our community with so much more than those 12 days. So food drives, we're going to start partnering. I believe we're partnering up with UFW to do a food drive or food distribution drive-through starting next week, I believe. So we really are the community center. So with that, I will see you all virtually, if not in person, on May 18th at 5 p.m. Have a wonderful
Okay.
day, evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Need to adjourn. Motion?
Oh, adjourn at, what time is it? I need a motion to adjourn before I say goodbye. Motion to
I
adjourn,
motion to
please.
adjourn.